Hey everyone, welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I am Corey Takei, and this is the place bringing you the latest in movie news, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining me now is John Campia, Editor-in-Chief of AMC.
Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on planet Earth, coming to you live from right here at the AMC Movie News headquarters here in Burbank, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
And of course, we've got Maude Garrett.
Hey there. Yes, I'm a little bit upset that no one's actually commented on my X-Wing jacket.
I love your X-Wing jacket. I think it's fabulous. I was actually talking to Christian and Mark about it behind your back.
Okay. That makes me feel better.
And of course, we've got Mark Ellis.
And I have no X-Wings on my hoodie.
Hey, first of all, I want to thank Corey Takei for sitting in for Ashley and for Sinead, who are both out today. So thank you so much for coming in to do this for us today, Corey.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
It's good to have you back. All right, let's get started. What's first?
All right, so first, it's been nearly 5 years since it was announced that Warner Brothers had acquired the film rights to Ready Player One. And it seems they're ready to move full steam ahead. Warner Brothers and Village Roadshow have announced that Steven Spielberg has signed on to direct and produce the film based on the best-selling book. The synopsis for the book is described as follows. In the near future, outcast teenager Wade Watts escapes from his bleak surroundings by logging into the Oasis, a globally networked virtual utopia where users can lead idyllic alternative lives. Excuse me, I can't pronounce that word.
We fought over that word earlier.
We tried, and I was like, ugh. All right. When the eccentric billionaire who creates the Oasis dies, he offers up his vast fortune as the prize in an elaborate treasure hunt. Along with gamers from around the world, Wade joins the adventure and quickly finds himself pitted against powerful corporate foes and other ruthless competitors who will do anything in the Oasis or the real world to reach the treasure first. Mark, your thoughts on Steven Spielberg directing and producing Ready Player One?
They got that hack to direct this movie? Yes, this is awesome. I'm so excited. I love Steven Spielberg. He's probably the best director of all time. And when you describe that synopsis, that just sounds like something that is so in his wheelhouse, something that Steven Spielberg can really sink his teeth into, use all that effects wizardry, all of his storytelling mastery. It sounds a little bit like Tron to me. I'm not familiar with the novel. Some elder people in the panel have read the book. Maude, and rubbed it in my face, Maude. But this sounds like something that I'm very excited about this project now, and I know that it's been through a lot of hands. People wanted to get this movie off the ground for a long time. The fact that Steven Spielberg is not only producing, he's produced a lot of stuff like Transformers. The fact that he's directing it too just gets me over the moon about this project.
Yeah, the fact that this film has Steven Spielberg attached, that's good. But the fact of the matter is, Ready Player One is probably the most overrated, most unjustly talked about book in the past number of years. And I'm kidding, I've never read it. But I do have, I thought Maude was going to have some kind, she was going to pass out here.
Most overrated, I was like, okay.
I have actually never read it, but the funny thing is I remember about 6 months ago, I'd never even heard of it. And I was out for dinner with a buddy of mine, and he was like, hey, have you read Ready Player One? I'm like, no, what is that? And he just freaked out about it. He loved it. So I know they've been talking about this movie for a really long time. This is unexpected. But Steven Spielberg lately is becoming a lot like Guillermo del Toro, where it's like, it feels like right now that he's connected to about 8 different movies. Yeah. Right now, I feel like every month we're announcing a new one that Steven Spielberg is attached to direct. So we'll see how this turns out. But this sounds pretty official, and so this means nothing but good things for this movie, even though I've never read the book. But apparently Maude's read the book.
Yeah, I read it. Yeah, I kind of liked it. I read it 2 years ago in 2 days. This is the kind of book where you start it and you do not put it down until it is done. This is also the book for nerds. This is all about the future where you tap into the Oasis, which is a virtual reality.
That's all books, by the way.
Well, the future. The future.
Reading's such an 18th century sport. It really is.
But the thing about this book is that, yes, it's set in the future and, it's all about virtual reality, but it actually takes you on the most nostalgic journey through all of geekdom through the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, especially the 80s, which is when Ernest Cline, the author, obviously has showed his true nerd colors. So for someone like me reading it, I was just like highlighting parts of this book. Like, yes, there is a Firefly world. There is a Hyrule from Zelda in there. So this guy has created all of his favorite geekdoms, and you can actually explore them within this game. Because of that, though, I'm wondering how the hell Warner Brothers got rights to this, because there's so many concepts in there that they just don't own. So I'm kind of wondering how they're going to do that. And the other thing is, it's all virtual reality. So much of this is going to be green screen, it's going to be CGI, and there's a lot of room for error. And so now that I know that Steven Spielberg's on this, I was double fist pumping. I'm like, yes, this guy has to get it right. It's going to be so good. It's going to blow people's minds. And because Steven Spielberg is tackling the biggest geek thing condensed into one script, people are going to be geeks. They're all geeks. You're a geek.
For a second there, I thought for sure you were going to say you were double fisting. It's just like,
I get excited about one thing. I get excited about one book, and now I'm double fisting.
That's her mod. She reads books in 2 days, and she drinks a lot.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right, next up, with no less than 3 Lego movies currently in development and scheduled for release, The Hollywood Reporter has revealed that a 4th Lego movie is also on the way. The new film will be called The Billion Brick Race and will be written and directed by The Muppets and Forgetting Sarah Marshall star Jason Segel. The Billion Brick Race joins Lego's Ninjago, hitting AMC theaters on September 23, 2016. The Lego Batman movie in AMC theaters on May 26, 2017. And the Lego movie sequel, which will arrive in AMC theaters May 25, 2018. No word yet on when the Billion Brick Race will hit theaters, but John, is Jason Segel a good fit for a new Lego movie?
I honestly, I don't like to, well, let's face it, we use hyperbole all the time, but I do not like to use this word very often, but this is perfect.
Whoa.
This is perfect. Like, seriously, if you sat down with me and said, okay, let's come up with the perfect guy to step in and do one of these Lego movies, when you look at what the type of passion Jason Segel was able to bring to the Muppet movie and how that, look, just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean you're going to be good at it. You know, the world's biggest Dungeons and Dragons fan directed Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, we saw how that turned out.
Hey.
But I mean, but
I enjoyed it.
Jeremy Irons. Anyway, but we saw what he did with the Muppets. He handled the Muppets both with reverence and with incredible energy, and it just turned out to be fantastic. And I love how he did that. So him coming on board to do a Lego movie is great. The only thing that gives me a little bit of hesitation is this is 4 Lego movies now in the pipe to come down and hit theater. Is this going to be a gimmick? And there's nothing wrong. Everybody thinks gimmick is a bad word. Gimmick can be really, really good and really, really useful. But is this a gimmick that could get a little tired? Maybe like 4 of them? But look, I was against the idea of the first Lego movie. Like I thought this isn't going to be very good. This is kind of a silly notion, blah, 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 blah. And well, we all know how that turned out. And now I am out of the betting against the Lego movie franchise business. I'm all in for Lego. I'm just wondering, 4 is a lot before we get a second film in to see if that first success one was just a fluke. I don't think it was. But maybe you want to see a second one perform before you plan your 4th and 5th. I mean, this is a little much. Maude, what do you think?
All I want to say with the Lego Batman movie is, hey, a Batman. I'm all about this. I thought that I was, again, apprehensive going, the Lego movie, this is just a blatant ploy to sell Lego.
Right.
And afterwards I was like, take my money. I want Lego.
Were you double fisting?
One of the funniest scripts, and it was the funnest movie to watch. Like, it was a joke a second. And I know Jason Segel is funny. I just wonder if he can keep up with that pace and that wit. I think it was 2 people that wrote the Lego movie. They worked on it together. I'd kind of like to see him pair up with someone that's
and I believe
scripts.
he is. I can't remember who he is, but I think he is pairing up with somebody to write the script.
But good on him for writing and directing. This is a really, really big accomplishment for him. And you're right, he is perfect for it. He's going to be great. But is there such thing as too much Lego? No.
Mark?
I think there's a thing as too much Lego for adults that are going to pay to see a Lego movie in a theater. I think kids can watch Legos all day long. So you can throw as many Lego movies as you want at kids. They're going to consume all of it. I think for adults, the reason why we love the Lego movie is because it was really funny and there was a lot of nostalgia for when we were kids and we had time to put together Legos. I mean, I still have time. I just don't choose not to. So I think that what Jason Segel brings to the table is that nostalgia that he brought to the Muppets, because he wanted to make a new Muppet movie, but he also wanted to wink to the past. And that's why I enjoyed the Muppet movie. And so I think that his writing, his involvement in this Lego film excites me. But again, it's a lot of Legos. It's a lot for adults to take in. I mean, I don't know that people are going to be lining up to see a new Lego movie every year like they might a Star Wars film or a big comic book franchise. I think kids, on the other hand, and kids are a lot of the reason why these movies make so much money anyway. So I think it's a smart marketing move. But for me personally, I can have too much Legos.
No, there's so many movies because the kids love them and then the adults love to watch them with them. Don't you think?
Yeah, when they're good. Like when you get like a good Pixar film, or when you get like that first Lego movie, which I'm convinced half of the jokes in the Lego movie went completely over the kids' heads
Yeah.
because they were also targeting both. But I think to Mark's point, I think what he's suggesting is that the adults might get a little tired about it. Here's the one thing that jumps out to me about this. Look, a Batman Lego movie is a no-brainer. Darkness!
Yeah.
You know, I want to hear that about more songs about no parents. That was a no-brainer. You got to do that. A Lego sequel is a no-brainer. You do that. I'm curious about the Lego Ninjago project. That sounds to me like one you should probably do as direct-to-home video like they've done with a number of their other films, because that's one that I don't think the parents are going to be excited about the Lego Batman movie. The parents are going to be excited about the Lego movie sequel. I don't know that parents will be excited about Ninjago.
I think as long as you get that separation, like what Disney did in the 90s, it was genius, is they had their huge movies like Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and The Lion King, and then you'd see, oh, wait, there's 4 Lion King movies or whatever there is, because they'd release other ones direct-to-video or direct-to-DVD. So as long as you say, hey, the Lego movie sequel is coming out and everybody wants to go see that, then you have these smaller Lego movies that are primarily marketed to kids. If adults or mod want to go see it, they can, but it's not incumbent. It doesn't make me feel like, oh, I got to go see another Lego movie again this year.
Must have sucked when you grew up.
I was a Lincoln Log kid.
Adult.
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Kaori's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Kaori, what do we got?
Okay, so things continue to move forward for the upcoming new Friday the 13th movie. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Hannibal co-producer Nick Antosca has been brought on to do a rewrite of the current script and have the film in production in time for its May 13th, 2016 release date. And yes, that's Friday the 13th, the only Friday the 13th in all of 2016. No details on the projects are available, but it's been speculated that this Friday the 13th will be a reimagined origins of Jason and how he acquired his supernatural abilities. Mod, buy or sell Nick and Tosca writing Friday the 13th?
I'm going to buy this one big time. Nick is a young gun. This guy's like 32 years of age, and he's been putting out books since 2006, so he can definitely write. He's been doing television series for the last few, and some big names as well, like Teen Wolf, even though it may not be in the horror genre. It's still like a long-running network series. And then he also co-produced Hannibal. Now, Hannibal was so scary, I couldn't even get past the trailer when I had to interview the cast for them. I was really affected. It's like Law & Order SVU on roids. So for me, I was just like, this is the most thrilling and chilling thing I've ever seen on television, and I cannot believe it even got like a rating and that it could be seen, because it's just morbid, but for the horror fans, it is like the best thing on television at the moment. So translate this over to a Jason story, and this guy just keeps coming back. Apparently he can't die.
Oh, no, he went to space. Once you go to space, all bets are off.
Yeah, I guess so. And he was a cyborg as well, so it's like, well, that makes sense. I'm not a big fan of horror. It's not really. I think you either absolutely love horror and you eat it for breakfast, or you're like me and I cry watching trailers. But for this one, I buy the fact that it's Nick, and I really believe that he can do a great job with it.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. I'm actually going to buy this, even though I have never watched a single episode of Hannibal. I know several people who watch it religiously and just swear by that show. And the other reason I'm going to buy it too is that as much as Jason has been run into the ground, no pun intended, Jason is an iconic figure in the world of horror film, like that will stand the test of time. If any character in the world of horror deserves a really good reboot attempt, it's the Jason character. Now, a year ago, I would have said, Michael Bay's Dune Productions is not the company to do it. But then I saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I thought I was going to hate and I thought would suck. And me and Schnepp actually ended up quite liking it. So, you know what? That gives me a little bit of hope. Bring this guy on as a writer, the guy from Hannibal that everybody loves. Sure, for me, it's a buy.
Yeah, anytime you have an iconic horror franchise like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm going to buy that they're trying to do anything with it, particularly when they are going back to the roots and they want to say, okay, look, we know it got really silly when we sent Jason into space and when he took over Manhattan and when him and Freddy had a tangle together.
And there's that one where he took over Def Jam Records and ran the hip hop industry for a few years. That was
actually a really good producer. I think that I'm excited about that. I think it's cool that they're going going to tap into the supernatural element a little bit and just see, okay, why is this guy? He's a terrible swimmer, but apparently he's really good at staying alive after the fact. And I want to go back to Camp Crystal. Like, I want to see, I love the concept of teenagers being scared, and I want to see them running around freaked out by this guy. Now, they remade Friday the 13th not too long ago, and it just fell flat. It's cool to be in a movie theater and hear the tss, tss, tss.
Yeah.
It's cool to see that stuff, but the movie just flatlines after that. What I'm kind of selling, though, is that they're releasing it on Friday the 13th.
Oh,
which
come on!
What are you talking about? Really?
That's brilliant. There's one Friday the 13th that whole
I
year.
think eventually that hurts the franchise because it's like, oh no, there's a Friday the 13th, so we got to make a movie and make it come out on that. And did you hear when it's coming out? May.
It may be the only right thing they do in this movie is
May
releasing it on Friday the
13th, it's going to get murdered by some huge comic book movie. That's the beginning of the summer movie season, and there's not a lot of people. I know, oh, it's Friday the 13th. I guess I got to see Friday the 13th. No, I'm going to see the huge summer movie that I've been looking forward to since last year. So I think it's going to get killed at the box office if it's going up against one of those big movies. I would open it in like January, February, where it doesn't have a lot of competition.
On the 14th.
All right, what's next?
Next up, one popular anime property that fans have been calling for a feature film version seems to officially be on the way. Robotech is finally heading for the big screen, with Sony Pictures announcing that they have secured the future rights to the property and that they have the intention of moving quickly towards production of a future global franchise. Robotech takes place at a time when Earth has developed giant robots from the technology on an alien spacecraft that crashed on a South Pacific isle. Mankind is forced to use the technology to fend off 3 successive waves of alien invasions. The first invasion concerns a battle with a race of giant warriors who seek to retrieve their flagship's energy source known as protoculture, and the planet's survival ends up in the hands of 2 young pilots. Okay, Mark, buy or sell a Robotech franchise finally being in the works?
Yeah, I'll buy it. It's been rumored forever, not just when the cartoon was around, the anime series in the mid-'80s. I think Tobey Maguire was attached to this.
Yeah.
At one point, I think DiCaprio was attached to star in these at one point, not too long ago. So now I'm going to buy that. I'm excited that it's getting off the ground. I want it to get off the ground. I think there's a lot to explore in this world. It sounds like you could do something like Pacific Rim, although this came before Pacific Rim was ever a thing, and you can actually make it better and have a really engaging story. So unlike Lara Croft over there, who I'm sure has played the games, I've never played a Robotech video game, but this sounds like a promising idea.
Yeah, I remember it had to have been 7 years ago that Tobey Maguire's name came out, that he was going to actually star in and probably produce Robotech films, and that went nowhere. I'm not sure that the DiCaprio thing was ever real. I heard those rumors as well. I don't know if it was ever real or not. Maybe it was. But this is a no-brainer, and I'm just waiting for the onslaught, when the first promo pictures come out and people say, this is a Pacific Rim knockoff. No, it's not. It's like when people, I remember, totally true. I remember when people, when the first Lord of the Rings came out and people were saying it was just a Dungeons and Dragons ripoff because it had rangers and dwarves. Like, you do know what came first, right? Yeah. That was all completely, listen to Guillermo del Toro talk about it. Like, Pacific Rim was completely influenced by Robotech. This is one you can do. Look, I'm not usually the guy, I will very usually not jump on the bandwagon when people say, hey, turn this into a movie and turn this into a movie. It's like, just because you liked it as a kid doesn't mean. This is one that can work. It's got huge cinematic potential. It does have a very hardcore following from guys who've been watching this for generations now. This is a good move. I think this will work really well. So for me, it's a big buy.
Yeah, we haven't actually seen anything from the franchise for about 8 years. I think the comics finished around 2005. The games finished 2007. So that's like that, okay, let's give it the breath of life. I think that now that we've had 4 Transformers and that's kind of, dissipating, this is where it could fill in that big gap. And, that makes billions of dollars, Transformers. So this could as well. But I think that this would have a little bit more of a bigger scale. Like, that's what I liked about Pacific Rim, the huge grand scale of these Jaegers. Thank you, Mark Ellis, for filling me in on
I know
that
my
one.
Jaeger.
And the kaiju, like, that was just huge, and it was like Godzilla-esque, and I think that we could have the grander scale of that as well back into these movies, so it would be a better Transformers, especially when huge names are being attached to it and people are talking about it like that.
But there's a concern for me that I think it sounds interesting. That's why I bought the premise. But don't you think that there's going to be a little bit of audience fatigue when you have all these Transformer movies that aren't that good? They make a lot of money, but Robotech is not the name Transformers. It's not the same brand name. It doesn't have that recognizability. And Pacific Rim didn't do as well well as people thought it would. So people might look at it. I know Robotech came first, but the movies didn't happen like that. So people might see this and just be like, oh, this is another franchise that they're trying to get off the ground with giant robots.
One word. Robots. Robots. Mother
I
flipping
think they're
robots.
cool. I think they're cool.
But at the same time, an argument can be made that presents an opportunity, actually. Because like you could have said when Christopher Nolan was looking at making Batman Begins or The Dark Knight, you could say, aren't people fatigued with the Schumacher Batmans? Like we saw Batman and Robin, Arnold Schwarzenegger, put it on ice, all that kind of stuff. I mean, but what that really did was it created an opportunity that you bring the audience now a Batman movie in another certain style with a certain level of excellence, and that failure before actually creates fertile ground for a lot of success or something else. I would suggest that the recent failures of Transformers, and how do you with a straight face call a movie that makes over $1 billion worldwide a failure?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure, but it was a horrible movie. But I think if you can take that bad taste in people's mouths of Transformers 4, right, and give them like a Batman Begins, a Dark Knight version of that with Robotech, with a studio behind it that says, look, we're not just going to make big explosions to cash in on some quick money, which is what all movies are really anyway, but we're not just going to do that. We're going to try to put some effort into this to make this a solid Dark Knight type of movie that will excel. And if they can do that, awesome. If they give us but if they give us Robotech with, humping Robotech dogs, then it's we're no further ahead.
Let's build the robots out of Legos just to be safe.
Yes!
Maybe it's all crossing over. All right, what's next?
All right, next up, I know what you guys are all thinking. When are we going to have a new Smurfs movie?
I'm thinking that.
Right? So, well, another one is coming anyway, but this time it's a little bit different. Sony Pictures Animation has announced the new Smurfs movie has moved 6 months from August 2016 to March 2017, and this time it will be an all-animated reboot of the series. The director of the new Smurfs film, Kelly Asbury, who also directed Shrek 2, had this to say about the new movie. Excuse me. Quote, I want nothing more than for this all-new animated Smurf movie reboot to be the very best ever depiction of the Smurfs since the original Peyo comic books. Since this new film has no connection to the previous live-action hybrids, we have a whole new world to create, and it is critical to me and my crew that we deliver a movie that will enchant families and fans worldwide for years to come. John, do you buy or sell the sound of this new Smurfs movie?
I love this idea, to be honest. Look, I am one of the few rare, dangerous people that actually didn't mind the first Smurfs movie with Gargamel. I thought Gargamel was kind of funny. And the second one was just horrible. Even I can't get on board with that one. But the notion of saying, look, the series has such a stench of failure on it now that even the new director is saying, we have nothing to do with those last ones. Nothing to do with those. And the concept of going back now to what a lot of people wish the first couple of Smurfs movies would be, just make it about the Smurfs. Put it in the Smurf village. Do a full animated thing with the magic that CGI and the technology now gives you, and stay true to those original kind of notions of it. I think this is a really good idea. It may end up being as bad or worse than the ones that came before it, but as a concept and as an idea, I applaud it. I think it's a really good move, Mark.
Yeah. La 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 la
Yeah.
la 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 la. I can't wait for this. This sounds great. If it's like the first 5 minutes of the first Smurfs movie, when it was just the Smurfs, humans ruin everything, okay? They genetically engineer dinosaurs. I root for the apes when they fight apes. I root for the mutants when they fight humans. And humans in Smurfs just did not make any sense, and it was so forced and awful to watch. I hated the first Smurfs movie. I hated the second one even more. I think I might have left the theater. I think I might have used my 1 a year pass, and I'm like, nope, done, can't do it. But if you have them in their own element and you don't have humans in there at all, and it's just Smurfs, this is really promising.
You guys know I respect you both as people, right? but you liked the first one?
I can't lie. I know. I gotta be honest. I'm a little bit shamed by it.
I'm
yes.
a little judgy. I'm a little judgy
judgy.
right now, but I'm going to sell this concept. I buy the fact that they are doing a brand new thing. I think that's a smart move because we realized, how it just wasn't working, their formula. They were like, Smurfs in human world. No, let's try one more time. Still no? Okay, we get the hint. But I don't get excited like you guys do. Yeah, I heard the la la. I heard it in my head. And then I went, stop. I guess I'm not thrilled. And it's 2017 it's coming out.
Yes.
Oh, well, write that in my calendar and look for it. No, I won't.
What I just really hope though is that they follow up this announcement with a spin-off Hank Azaria's Gargamel announcement, a standalone Gargamel movie with Hank Azaria. I don't really think.
The Smurfs.
All right, what's next?
Next up, despite the fact that 50 Shades of Grey made almost $560 million at the worldwide box office, both screenwriter Kelly Marcel and director Sam Taylor Johnson are not returning for the sequel. 50 Shades Darker, which is scheduled to hit AMC theaters in 2017, will need to find a new director before shooting begins after Taylor Johnson announced she has opted not to return. Maud, buy or sell both the screenwriter and director for 50 Shades departing the series?
This is not a good thing, no matter which way you look at it. You were talking about the stench of failure with the Smurfs.
Yes.
This has the stench of people abandoning the project. There's red flags everywhere. Initially, Charlie Hunnam was cast, and he's like, "Oh, scheduling conflicts." It's like, yeah, right, buddy.
Yeah.
You read that script, and you're like, "Oh, see ya." And now Amelia Clarke, who plays Daenerys Targaryen, Stormborn, Mother of Dragons on Game of Thrones, she's announced that she was asked to do the role, and she was like, "I'm good." And she said no regrets. She's really proud of that.
Well, she had also announced in Game of Thrones that she didn't want to do nudity anymore.
That's true.
That was going to be a little hard to pull off for 50 Shades of Grey.
I don't know. I just think that a lot of people that are attached to it are either leaving it or they're not wanting to do the second one. Look, what is it? $560 million is nothing to scoff at. That's really impressive. But I think that I think it's a one-trick pony. They did it. Now that there's 2 more movies in the works, it's like, have fun with that.
Yeah, I'm going to buy this. I think there's a positive way to look at this, but it all comes from the stench of failure. On one hand, look, maybe the writer and the director left, but maybe they just get to say they left. I mean, the fact of the matter is that first movie, not that this is any big surprise, first movie wasn't very good. And who do you hold responsible for that? The writer and the director, probably the source material itself. But for the series, I think you need to get rid of the writer and you need to get rid of the director. That's not saying that any writer or director could have made that book something watchable on screen. It was an unwinnable battle. But if you are in charge of this franchise right now and you know the response that it got, you know, maybe it's not Taylor Johnson's fault. Maybe it's not the writer's fault, but they were the writer and the director of an awful movie. Time to bring in somebody new. So while I'm not looking forward to the second one and I did not like the first one, this might be a good move and the right thing to do. So for that reason, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, I buy it. I mean, you're right. The source material it just reeks. And you can bring in one flavor of air freshener and spray it, and you can still kind of smell it. And you're going to bring in another flavor of air freshener. Maybe you can still smell what was originally really bad.
Now it smells like fish and flowers. Yes.
However, I think that a director's job is to work with his actors or her actors and say, look, you need to be not so wooden or you need to bring more life to this. So I think that a different director particularly could have a positive influence on the franchise going forward. So that's why I'm going to buy it. As far as a different writer or different anything else, I mean, you only have so much to work with, especially when the author of the book is as heavily as involved in the filmmaking process, where if they have final say over what the actual script is, that really hampers you. But a new director could still work with actors a little bit better than what you got with the first film.
That reminds me, going back, a story that came out before Sam Taylor Johnson was announced as director, that Gus Van Sant wanted to direct that movie.
Wanted to.
Yeah, he wanted, and apparently he even put together like a little fake sizzle reel. He brought in some actor friends of his, shot like 1 or 2 scenes. He really wanted to do it. And I'm like, and I
That's
remember,
all you have to say these days? Yeah, you
That sounds really creepy, yeah.
I don't have my camera. I've got this concept I really want to take all your clothes off.
I'm not throwing a sex party. I'm trying to do an artistic endeavor here to land a motion picture.
Now look in the iPhone.
Yeah.
That's going to become a hashtag trending topic. Look in the iPhone. But I remember thinking when I like Sam Taylor Johnson. She's got a nice little track record actually. But I remember thinking at the time, wait a minute, you had Gus Van Sant that wanted to do this film, and you said no. Like what were you thinking? Maybe it was just he had a different vision for it or whatever. Maybe they should have gone with his different vision. But I don't know. All right, what's next?
Okay, so director Bryan Singer took to his Twitter account yesterday to announce that they've casted newcomer Lena Condor as Jubilation Lee, aka Jubilee, in the upcoming XMen Apocalypse. The character of Jubilee appeared in the first 3 X-Men films where she was portrayed by 2 different actresses, always in a significantly minor role. Mark, buy or sell this statement. Jubilee will play a more significant role in X-Men Apocalypse than she did in the original 3 films?
I'm going to buy it because she really couldn't have less of an impact than she had in the other films. And I mean,
who else is going to put the apple on Professor Charles's desk? Huh?
Who else is going to dress like 2015 Marty McFly, you know? I think that she actually could have a very positive impact on the team if you're going up against Apocalypse, because if you forget about the vampire storylines with Jubilee,
she's a vampire.
but she also has a lot of telekinetic stuff she can do, and she's immune to some of that stuff that if other people, if I'm trying to get in your head, she can say, no, she can block that out. So I think that her power, her skill set could lend itself to being useful for the team going up against Apocalypse.
I sell the statement because I think Bryan Singer, as great as he's done, one of the things he's done in his X-Men films is populated it with a lot of mutants that don't even have a line, and just, he likes, look, there's that guy, and look, there's the frog dude, and look, there's this dude, and look, there's Jubilation Lee, and they've had her in there 3 times. I don't have any reason to believe, and the fact that he's casted a complete newcomer doesn't do much to make me think, oh, Jubilee's really going to have a major role to play in this one. It's going to be her and Apocalypse at the end, squaring off against each other. So I'm going to sell the statement, Maud.
I mean, Jubilee's always been the sidekick. She's always been the youngest mutant member, and everyone kind of looks after her, which is kind of what they did with Rogue initially in the first Wolverine. But what they used to do with the franchise was also change and tweak a few things to make it better for the movies, like the fact that Wolverine and Sabretooth are brothers. I was the only one in Australia watching that movie being like, no! What? Did you understand? That's what I sound like when I'm really upset about something.
I can't wait to take you to the new Smurfs movie. We're going to have a lot of fun.
That's the voice that almost came out when I talked about Ready Player One and how bad it was.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Jubilee's, she's always been the kind of, you've got PAF powers and PAF abilities. Like, she's the butt of a lot of jokes because her, she just doesn't have awesome, cool powers. So having her in a major role here, maybe the underdog saves the day. Maybe she's like, PAF, what's going to happen?
PAF.
Yeah. I'm not saying she's going to be the star, by the way. I think she's going to have more of a role to play. Like, I think if like what Kitty was in X-Men Days of Future Past, where it's not a huge role, but she's a major player. She's a conduit to something like sending Wolverine back in time. I think that her telekinetic abilities could come into play.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. We're going to get to some of your Twitter questions, too, in just a minute. But for now, Carrie, what's in our mailbag?
In the mailbag, Harris Severino writes, "Hey, John, heard you mention that Rogue Nation is similar to Spectre, and that's fine by me. Back when the film was moved from December to July, people said it was to avoid Star Wars. Do you think it also had to do with avoiding people thinking it was a copy to Spectre?"
Well, first of all, I never said that Rogue Nation or whatever they're calling it, the anti-IMF, I can't remember what they called it. What did they call it in the trailer? The name of the organization. If either of you guys back there remember what it is, just shout it out. But I didn't say it was like Spectre. What I said is that here you've got these guys, you've got the Mission Impossible crew has their evil anti-government bad guy organization called
Jaeger.
Syndicate. The Syndicate. I think that was it. Called the Syndicate. And then in James Bond, you've got the one called Spectre. But Inspector Gadget what was the one that Dr. Claw was the head of? What was the name of the...
I always thought Dr. Claw worked by himself. Just him and his kitty.
Next time.
Gadget. Yes. I keep forgetting. I can't remember what the name of his organization was. But all these like franchises have the big bad organization behind the wheel. But I didn't say they were actually similar to each other. So I wouldn't worry about that. Did they move off of that date to get away? No. They weren't afraid of that comparison. I absolutely guarantee you they were not afraid of that comparison because, like I said, this wasn't the first time this happened. All these big international organizations, spy organizations, have their opposite enemy spy organizations, stuff like that. So it's nothing new. I don't think they're worried about it. Do you guys see it any differently?
No, I mean, I think that I had that thought too, that, maybe they just want to get in front of James Bond as opposed to behind James Bond. I really think they looked at Star Wars. They're like, man, that really could take a bite out of our box office. They saw a window of opportunity in the summer. They knew they could be ready in time. They made the play.
I'm going to go way off track here just because we're talking about, Freddy versus Jason versus Freddy. I would love to see James Bond versus Ethan Hunt. How great would that be?
That's really cool.
I actually want to see.
I'd pay to see that
this movie that we've got up there. That would be so awesome. So now that it's like, are they a bit similar? Let's say, yeah, they are. Let's make them the same movie. It'll never happen, but a gal can dream.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show oh, and by the way, the name Dr. Claw's organization was MAD, M-A-D. I can't remember what it stood for. But anyway, we've reached that part of the show. For your Twitter questions, we'd love to take your questions via Twitter as well. If you'd like to see your Twitter and your tweet on our show, tweet a question and just use the hashtag AMC Movie Talk in your tweet. That way we can see it and maybe pick your tweet to get on our show. For now, we've got a couple picked out. So, Corey, what's in there?
Okay, first up, at Movie Read News says, do you think the Mission Impossible franchise could become like 007 with different actors playing Ethan Hunt?
I don't think so. I am becoming a big fan of the Mission Impossible franchise, especially I thought 3 was quite good, and then 4 came out and it blew us all away, and I'm really looking forward to the next one. But here's the thing, James Bond is such a more memorable individual character. Like, if I ask you to describe James Bond right now, most of you out there could sit down and give me a description of James Bond, what he's like, his suaveness, his bad, all that kind of stuff. But if I ask you to describe Ethan Hunt, you'd probably have a harder time coming up with a description about the character and what he's actually like, what's his personality like. Whereas Bond has those traits that really transcends the medium, right? So I think, no, I actually don't think, I think you can reboot the franchise and bring in another actor to play it, but I don't think it'll be one of those legacy franchises like the Bond thing where it's like, who's next up at Bond? I just don't think Ethan Hunt becomes that. Do you guys see it any other way?
I was not listening to the question because I was getting the MAD acronym. Do you want to know what that is?
What is the MAD acronym?
Okay, great. I have priorities in life. MAD is known for 2 things: malevolent agency of destruction and mean and dirty.
Okay, good to know.
Like, why do you name your agency that, though? Like, try to put a smiley face on this. Like, no, we're not the bad guy. I don't understand that. It's back to Ethan Hunt. I totally agree with John. I don't think that. I think that they could reboot the franchise. You could see another lead that's very great in a Mission Impossible film, but they're not going to call him Ethan Hunt. Like, I think the name Mission Impossible is what sells that movie, not the name Ethan Hunt. The name James Bond sells James Bond movies. So that's right. That's more of an iconic character. Tom Cruise is pretty irreplaceable as Ethan Hunt. I don't think that you could, I don't think that you're ever going to see a dude named Ethan Hunt on screen that's not played by Tom Cruise.
I want to compare this to Bourne. We had 3 Bourne movies, Matt Damon, and then we got Jeremy Renner in to do it, and it was like a take on it.
Yeah, but he wasn't
Bourne, but he was a take on it, and there was a new player in the franchise, which is what I think they would do with Mission Impossible.
Well, the interesting comparison to that is that Jeremy Renner was the heir apparent in both of those situations, because they originally brought in Jeremy Renner in Mission Impossible 4 because the thought was Jeremy Renner's character was then going to inherit the Mission Impossible franchise. That was the original thought, and then everybody loved Tom Cruise in it and thought he totally owned it, and Cruise had a great time, and he owns this damn thing. So he was like, I'm going to keep doing it.
And Cruise looks younger than Jeremy Renner in the trailer.
Yeah, he's looking really good.
The guy's aging really well.
Really well.
Really well.
Damn Scientology. All right, what's next?
Next up, at Mighty Assad asks, does the production budget for a movie include the actors, actresses' salaries? Have always wanted to know. Bring it on.
It's actually good. It's a good question, and yes, the answer to that question is yes, it does include. But here's the interesting thing, though. Although it does include the actors' base salaries, what it does not include is the Robert Downey Jr. stuff, which is the points or the percentages they get later. Robert Downey Jr.'s contract for Avengers was not $50 million, but that's what he ended up getting paid because of all these little side deals. So that is more money that comes out of the studio's pocket when they sign those types of deals. So while yes, the base salaries, in most cases, yes, that's all there, but there are those situations where actors get points and percentage and stuff like that, and that is not reflected in the production budget. Do you guys have anything else to add?
No, I think also they don't include the advertising budget. Initially, when they say this movie costs this much to make, the marketing is a separate thing usually.
Yeah.
And it's usually the same amount, wasn't it?
No, it's usually anywhere, generally speaking, the marketing budget usually ranges anywhere between, for a standard wide release film, anywhere between $20 and $50 million. There are examples of it being much higher. There are examples of it being a little bit lower, but that's generally the range you'll find it in.
I just wanted to bring up the example when Alec Guinness to do Star Wars. I mean, they couldn't pay him what he was worth, so he took a cut.
He got points.
Yeah, it was like 2.75% of all earnings.
Yeah.
He never had to
That's that Jedi mind stuff. Yeah.
It's the best story.
All right, what's next?
Next up, we have at Flirt. Good question. Since 2015 is almost a quarter done, what's your worst film of the year so far? My choice is Taken 3. not mine, but his. That editing gave me a headache.
There have been, as in any time of any part of the year, there have been some great movies this year I've been really excited about and surprised by, but there have also been some very bad ones. To me, it's no contest. It is absolutely no contest for me personally. Jupiter Ascending was the worst movie-going experience I have had. Schnepp tells the story about it, where he and I are sitting beside each other. Me, Schnepp, and Dennis go out one night. We decide we're going to do a double feature of Jupiter Ascending. And what was the name of the other one, Dennis?
Seventh Son. Yeah.
Seventh Son. So Dennis, me, and Schnepp one night were just like, let's go do a double feature of these two movies. It'll be a great experience. And Schnepp tells a story about how he's sitting beside me, and like through Jupiter Ascending, I literally put my face in my hands and started rocking back and forth like, oh my God, this is so bad. And Schnepp is just laughing. That movie was horrendous. The worst movie going experience I've had since Transformers 4. I will be really shocked if by the end of the year, it's not my worst movie of the year. So for me personally, and all movies subjective, because I know some people drink a lot and liked, Jupiter Ascending. That's cool. I thought it was horrible. Double fisting. But that's it. That's mine. What about you, Maud?
I'm going to go with the Boy Next Door. I feel that not only did you not even need to watch the movie because it was all in the trailer, but the trailer itself looked like this morbid love child between a Nicholas Sparks movie and some fan fiction of a guy obsessed with Jenny from the Block and was just like trying to make his own little creation in there and live vicariously through the young guy that not only hooked up with J-Lo but then ruined her life. I think that movie was just kind of pointless, and I love J-Lo with George Clooney. It was a great book as well.
Out of sight. Yeah.
Oh, that was her best.
Michael Keaton was in that.
Work. That was a great movie. I'd love to see her do something like that again. And then when I saw this,
Well, you didn't buy the young dancer from the recent Step Up movie who's clearly like 29 years old. I'm a 16-year-old high school student.
Hi. I don't know if he knows me around here, but I'm a young boy.
Hey, how about that music television all the kids are listening to? But the one good thing about The Boy Next Door is that Jennifer Lopez glows in that movie. I mean, she looks
that's the name of her fragrance, right?
Glow?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Glow. Yeah.
You're not lying.
No.
Oh my gosh.
This was a paid advertisement for J-Lo's glow. My worst of the year is The Loft. I mean, my God. I didn't have a physical reaction like what John had with Jupiter Ascending, and I had with Transformers 4, but The Loft was just so terrible. It started out bad, and it just got worse and worse, and it's like you're trying to figure out how can these guys actually make dumber and dumber decisions as the film goes on, and they somehow manage to do it. Every decision they make, there's a dumber one coming around the next 5 minutes. So it's actually pretty entertaining to watch from that perspective, but it's a horrific movie.
You just described my decision-making process. But what's really too bad about that movie is that it looked quite good. I thought I was kind of really excited for it, and then you heard it's been sitting on the shelf for 4 years, and then it's like, oh, this is why I was sitting on the shelf for 4 years. And with yours, with The Boy Next Door, I remember I saw the first trailer for it, and it actually made me laugh because a couple of those one-liners about "I love your mom's cookies," but bing, it's like, okay, it can't be this bad. They got to be going for so bad it's good on purpose, right? It got real wet here last night. It's like, oh my God. It's like, nope. Turns out it's just bad, just bad. All right, folks, that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen. Don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. And don't forget to click the thumbs up button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I want to thank, first of all, the people sitting at the table with me. Sitting to my left, Miss Maud Garrett. Maud, where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, Maud Garrett. And also, it's Star Wars Day.
Which means double fisting.
Which means Jedi Council and innocent conversations about Jedis and Sith. Double sabering.
Woo! And of course, sitting to my right, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you?
Gus Van Sant and I are going to be double sabering. We're making a little movie this weekend at 5150 Ellis on Twitter and Instagram. I'll be at the Comedy Store in Hollywood this Saturday night. Come on out and have some yucks.
Hashtag double sabering. And of course, our lovely host today who was so gracious at the last minute to sit in for us, Miss Corey Takei. Corey, where can people find you online?
You can find me Twitter, Instagram, and everywhere at Kaorius, Kaorious. And thank you for having me. You guys are awesome.
Thank you for being had. And thank you guys for joining us. Listen, you can find me and follow me on all the various social media networks, just at John Campia on Twitter and the Facebooks. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. My name is John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.